Hello, it's Saturday, 10:30 a.m. and finally the moment has arrived where I feel able to focus on something to occupy myself with some kind of activity instead of, just till now I've just been on my phone and just the usual. I just was unable to focus. So it's nice to be sitting up, and I feel a soreness in these. I forgot the name of these points, but they're like they're like very well-known, typical points to massage. And if I'm not mistaken, it's the gallbladder meridian. They usually sore with in almost everyone. So it's a really good sign that I feel that now. So I can just yeah. Yeah, still not that stable. Uh, well, I my wish is that my state improves, and as I've said before, for me to have more agency, more freedom of choice. Though when there's a choice, it's not really about freedom of choice, because when how to put it? If there's a choice, I always take the better, more beneficial one, as far as I'm aware of what is what. So then that's. So I'm not even sure if you'd call that freedom of choice, but maybe like having more options, or just well, it's all just different terms to describe the same thing. As the ability to function, which basically means three things that are quite independent of each other. One would be acting in the physical, real world, like cleaning my room, and then going to the supermarket, doing my laundry. I think I've run out of clothes already to wear. The other thing is the ability to go within and stay with myself. So just before, when I started the video, I was contemplating whether I would just do some acupressure on myself in this video instead of what I first thought I'd do, which would have been just studying a bit, practicing the Nagari script. Which is fun when as long as you're able to concentrate. And I think I lost my thread. Yeah, I just wanted to add that, like, last night, for example, I was able to listen to some guided meditations, and and then also to meditate on my own, and I'd really like to go back to that today as well. Unfortunately, like every time I go to sleep and then I wake up, I'm like reset and back to the baseline, which is just kind of the worst state. Or actually, like right after waking up, it feels like quite a positive state, but as soon as I focus on anything or want to do anything, it deteriorates extremely quickly. Because I'd love to, for example, if I feel too tired and exhausted in the morning, to do one of these guided meditations, for example, or just even read an ebook, even if that's some kind of distraction as well, but it's kind of acceptable. I spent quite a lot of time reading yesterday, although I wasn't really able to really take in the subject matter, but still I don't need to, and it's yeah, I don't know, it's still okay, but I didn't manage to this morning so far, and it's gonna be noon soon, and for me that's kind of half of the day, but that's been the story for just lately, that I'd need until quite late in the afternoon to get into some kind of flow and homeostasis in my nervous system. And by that time, evening would arrive, and once it gets dark, I just can. Yeah. I just hope because I instantly feel very exhausted and low in energy and unable to think straight. So I just try to fall asleep as soon as possible, or it just happens, which is a good thing. I've gotten much more sleep lately than, like, the past days at least, than before, which is a good thing. But now days just pass by one after the other. and nothing really happens, in the sense that I don't really get to do something, and things accumulate. Not well, things that need to get done. If you don't take the garbage out, it gets worse and worse. Same thing with like my whole room and all my things. I can't really care for my body, so as I can feel now, for example, it's how to put it. It gets more and more sore, and like the it just well, once I'm healthier and more functioning, more active, it will need more kind of work, hydration, exercise, and body work, and so on, to make my body more alive and vital and healthy again, and so on and so on. But sleep might help on some level. That's the thing I never know. I'm always in the state where I say, okay, I just have to see what happens tomorrow. Because if tomorrow is better, then everything with today can still be fine. Yeah, I mean now the resolution is very low, but I think, for example, the black rings under my eyes have mostly gone. Yes, yeah. Yesterday I did some like meditation exercises of connecting to myself, and some of these are actually meant to be done with a mirror. So I was thinking to do it with a camera. I mean, I've done exercises that were maybe a bit similar, and that's in fact how this whole channel started, with just staring at myself, which I haven't done for a while. But the process in that recording, as I listened to it, was more kind of more sophisticated, more detailed. And it was very interesting doing it with various parts of my body just lying in bed. Though according to that recording, you're meant to do it looking into your eyes, or if you can't stand it, just feeling into your heart while in front of a mirror. And kind of assuming that that's another person facing you and trying to connect, which is very similar to how I did that staring at myself exercise, which I guess is I did much more frequently in the earlier videos, and like ones recorded in August. what's very interesting is that I'm not able to do it right now. I mean, back then I used to go outside and record these videos, and doesn't work here somehow. The one thing is, if I go into the garden, it's still part of the house, and it all has a certain kind of energy. So, kind of my room and my bed is for my whole nervous system and like the emotional parts of me. It's the safest place to be, and then the rest of the house feels very unsafe, actually. And then, of course, the garden too. And just going out onto the streets, so far, I haven't been successful with that. And I probably would have to walk for a while to find a place where I could record videos. I mean, there is actually a bench to sit on just around the corner, but still, that's not a very private place. Like I wouldn't play on my drum there. Like I did in the park around the hospital in August, for example. Yeah, I'm just feeling to my body, into the state of my nervous system. For example, I feel very dehydrated, and I feel like I can get up and get some water, but apparently talking about that, well, I actually do have a bottle of water. It was just over there. That's a good thing. I've also wanted to go to the toilet for a long time, much longer than like long before starting to record this video. But it seems my bladder has relaxed again. Still, yeah, not the best state. I will make some green tea for myself. Yeah, interesting how I'm spending my days, right? It's always the thought, how is it gonna continue? Like, I've been wanting to cut my hair for 2 months now. But I've experienced that a couple of times already, that my hair just grew really, really long until finally managed to get a haircut. Also, whether there is an alternative to right now. I missed my last doctor's appointment, so it's gonna be at the end of next week instead of beginning of September. And I decided against being admitted to a hospital for a long time. And I still don't feel like that would be helpful. It's all complicated. I mean, I can define the problem or the processes, the issues from various points of view. Like, I do know about the emotional aspect, which is kind of it's always like the root cause, like the emotional problem or trauma or those parts of yourself that just cause various kinds of problems. And then there's I basically can decide between two ways of dealing with them. One is just to go into them and try to find resolution, and one way is to try to control them, mostly via medication, so I'll be able to function sufficiently to just continue life in this setting. Otherwise, being in hospital would be the only alternative, and I'm quite doubtful that it would under the right circumstances it might be helpful. And it feels like right now are not the right circumstances. And apparently those inner emotional causes they just get resolved layer by layer. So anyway, it's I've said it before. It's not something you can go into and resolve for the sake of it's not being there anymore, because that's totally counterproductive. It's just the opposite of what you want to communicate to that part of yourself, which is actually accepting and welcoming, being present with that part. So it's really an act of balance. Until not so long ago, I I focused much more on just doing my best to deal with those feelings and go into them, and being in a lot of pain, and when I would be able to do something, it's that would be that energy would actually come from the pain, and it would be very painful. And what I'm trying now is to do my best to cultivate the opposite. And obviously, I know from experience that doing something in out of some positive feeling, motivation just arising in itself in a more positive state, everything just flows along much more easily, and well, there's not all that pain, though I'm still very much aware of it. So I guess it's kind of okay. It seems like I'm kind of judging myself for suppressing painful emotions. I think I've already talked about this maybe yesterday, and I mentioned, or it just occurred to me that everybody's doing it. Though again, that's not really not necessarily a helpful fact, because there are a lot of things everybody's doing that if everybody is doing something, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's healthy and helpful. And now yeah, it's just kind of, let's see if I can make do this way, if it works out. As I've said in the beginning, it's my sleep has gotten much better. There's no clear data to interpret in a way. And well, just feeling and intuition wise, I noticed a number of synchronicities again and again, even in very bad states. Though, yeah, sometimes I don't know what to make of it, and they make me feel worse, because they make me feel as if I'm supposed to dive more deeply into the energy that's carrying those synchronicities. But for example, those guided meditations I was talking about, those few times I was able to actually go into them and listen to them and follow along without distracting myself at the same time or something. Or just, I remember yesterday, for example, the reaction of my body and my brain, it was just not aggressive. It belongs to the emotional spectrum of anger. But it's kind of the feeling of overwhelm, where it's just, go away, fuck you, leave me alone, this kind of reaction. Which means you can't go into it. But when I managed to go into it, then it was maybe twice, at least once. I entered quite interesting states, which were not related to the meditation, and which I wasn't even looking for. But I felt the presence of like lots of spiritual guides, or angel, or like angelic beings. Didn't like tune into them or interact with them, but that was a nice feeling, and I hadn't had any never had this exact experience. That's what's quite impressive. I'm still sitting here and not making tea. So yeah, what I've established is that doing acupressure would overwhelm me, and it also feels like even if I get into it, it would kind of take away a lot of time. I mean, that's my feeling, and it might actually rather come from a part of my body that kind of seems that wants to protect the status quo, that's just afraid of too much energy movement, because that's uncontrollable, and obviously basically what we call the ego doesn't like and want experiences and scenarios where you're out of control, because it doesn't trust life in itself. It's not necessarily a negative thing, and I even agree that, I mean, in wishful thinking, you just get your stuff done first, and then make time where you can let go of control. But quite sure it does work like this. Life will still go on if I kind of lost control for today, and just nothing happened, and I still stay in bed. That's the thing I've been talking about. It's just then, let's see tomorrow how I can deal with that tomorrow. The only thing is, if today is the last day that I can buy food, tomorrow will be Sunday, but I'll still survive that. I mean, a whole week has passed and I wasn't able to go and buy food. It's even a very hypothetical scenario. I don't even feel any, like energetically, I don't even feel close to any process that would make me, quote unquote, lose control. Just had the just kind of had the impulse to tune into emptiness, empty space, stillness, and in a way boredom for just a moment. Because that's a very that's something very calming, centering. Even can on the left side I could feel goosebumps in this area at my temples, which is always very tense and well, there's like a chronic muscular tension and pain. Yeah, it's interesting. It's typical, something like typical for any kind of meditation. There's like one experience where I tune into that empty space of stillness and it feels good and you feel like, okay, I want to do this for an extended period of time because it's a very common mistake, if you will. For example, in meditation or anything related, that you tune into something or you have an experience once and said, okay, that's how it feels like. I got it. I kind of graduated and now let's move on to the next thing. When actually the challenge is to spend time in this awareness. That's like the interesting factor in life. The time. Without time, everything would be very easy. And time makes things complicated and hard and painful, but also interesting. And then the other part, which tunes in and checks in with my surroundings, the state of my body and nervous system, what I want to do, and so on. and just goes into the state of panic. And wants to pull the other part out of just being in a state of presence. And then the pain, this central feeling of constant pain, which is not something I can switch off. So like even with meditation and so on, it will just kind of grow so it can keep up the balance and still be there and present, so I don't overlook it. I wish I'd be able to do a guided meditation now. It would be interesting even to do it on camera, but I'm not so far yet. My cervical spine and the back of my head are very painful. I'll just practice writing the Hindi alphabet just for fun and to see how well I can focus and concentrate, and yeah, how I'm able to do it. You know, first impression is not well. That's not. Well, apparently the way how I meet my most pressing needs would be going into those sensations, that pain, and being present with it, meeting the needs of those parts within myself. But at the same time, I'm resisting. I don't want to do it because I don't feel like Yeah, I don't feel like I can successfully do it, which would mean that I feel better afterwards. Which isn't even the point. It is in the long term, but it's not. Uh, yeah, I've. I think I've talked about that. I feel I'm very dissociated from myself. Very interesting. It's good to capture this on camera. It's very interesting state to be in. Very strong depression actually. But at the same time, I am being present with one part of myself, which is not very easy to grasp. But basically, it's kind of the apparently the part where the resistance comes from. Might come from. Yeah, interesting. That's a part that's in pain as well. But it's here the pain is still suppressed. I can feel it going back to childhood as well. And then another thing is that high level of anxiety in my body that makes all my muscles very tense and sore and prevents me from doing things and getting up and yeah, basically anything. It puts me in this state of paralysis, if you will. It's interesting. I feel like being ill, some kind, for example, with some kind of infection, like a respiratory illness or something. And I've got a slight bronchitis. I remember even yesterday when I recorded the video, I did mention that I had pain breathing, and today it's gotten a bit worse. Though I don't think it's not really something I caught from somewhere or somebody. That would be that would be surprising, because yeah, where should I have caught it from? It's because it gets quite cold at night now, and I might want to even find a scarf so I can wear it at night. But once you're asleep, yeah, it happens when you're asleep, and then this room of mine has got windows, as you can see behind me, so it just cools down when it gets cold, the early morning hours, and I'm just very sensitive to that. Actually, I got a very slight chronic bronchitis all the time since I've been a child, so it just once my body gets a bit weak, I already have pain breathing, and then add some cold from cold weather or air condition, and inflammation will start. And of course, trying to chemically stimulate my body, my nervous system, and not having proper nutrition, not having had proper nutrition for basically all year this year. It was never what I really need and what would be really good for me. And before that, not so much either. Last time I cooked for myself was in 2017. Yeah, it's very easy. At the same time, if I don't do that, my experience has been that I don't get to occupy myself with anything interesting, productive, or helpful at all. I'm just stay in that state of distracting myself, and yeah, that's basically why I mentioned before. The thing, I mean, that's basically a state where you think. Where you think, what's the alternative? What could I do? Yeah. So at the end of the month, as I said, I'll see my doctor, but I don't expect very much. I don't know why. Right now, just the vibe I'm getting is not good, and I mean, we'll see how it goes. But it appears to me like it's unlikely that I'll really be prescribed something actually helpful right away.